So I think you can expect continued volatility, and we think that's more of a strategic change rather than sort of tactical. As you get later in the monetary policy cycle, as you get to the place we are now, where people are arguing whether we're at neutral or close to neutral or just above neutral, there usually happens to be an increase in volatility as you get to that point in the market. So the volatility we've seen that's increased the past couple of months is not a surprise to us, has not been a surprise to us. You should expect more volatility when people are unsure as to the right stance of monetary policy is.
Quint, the rally we've seen in equity markets since Christmas Eve, do you think that's a bull market rally? Is it going to continue?
Not at all, Wilfred. I actually think it's a bear market reversal, and we're operating under that premise. And investors, I think, should really take this opportunity. If they were sitting through the declines in the fourth quarter of 2018 and they were overly concerned and they were overexposed, they're now getting that opportunity to lighten up their portfolio and take more defensive positions. And I think what the market is going to be waiting for, certainly headline volatility is out there, as Matt just alluded to, but earnings that are coming down the pike from the big tech names, we still believe that the market is going to go through a valuation adjustment. These stocks are going to go lower, and that will ultimately drag the market with it.
Quint, why do you think it's a bear market?
Well, because we're in a downtrend. I mean, basically, we've seen successive lower lows and lower highs, and I think that was kicked off certainly by the Fed last year and their accelerating rate sort of policy. But ultimately, it was truly in the fundamentals. These companies like Apple, Facebook, et cetera, as investors started to realize that they are starting to see slowing growth, they've had to reevaluate what they're willing to pay for those companies. And even though something like a Netflix came out and basically disappointed the stocks off, it's still selling at 50 times forward earnings. And even though it's projected to be up 50% as far as EPS next year, what happens if those EPS start to shrink? Well, they're going to revalue again, and the stock's going to continue to go lower.
Rick, BOJ this morning downgraded their inflation forecast. So we've got ECB, of course, coming tomorrow. When we get to the end of 2019, which of the major central banks do you think will end up being the most dovish?
Oh, I think that it's tie goes to the ECB and the Bank of Japan. I think they're both going to be competing for that title, Wilf. I don't see any way around it, actually. If they didn't have the nerve, either central bank, to try to do more when times were better, it would be shocking to me that they are going to put their neck on the block at a time where obviously we see a lot of cross currents in the inflation sphere, especially in Japan, because it imports all its energy and energy prices have been volatile. But at the end of the day, their economies aren't as strong as they were, whether it's in Europe or whether it's in Japan. It's true in the States, but the States still the cleanest shirt in the hamper, so to speak, to revive an adage from the credit crisis. I think it's going to be an ongoing issue of the United States, creating a bit of a pressure scenario. We normalized as much as the markets would take, which is much more than all the other large developed economies, but it's going to give us a cushion, and it will continue, in my opinion, to give us a capital benefit with regard to investors in the future.